Thank you very much, Simon. So hopefully what I'll do now is I will show you the things that Simon has talked about in the last 20 minutes or so, and highlight to you the great functionality and configurability of the Meraki dashboard, and how we can use that and utilize that to not only secure your infrastructure, but also set up the software-defined networking to allow you to utilize the best traffic, the best pathways across your WAN links to give your applications the best possible functionality that you can have. So here we are. I'm going to jump across a number of dashboards to demonstrate the functionality, just because they're different demo dashboards and they have different limitations, but in a real world situation you'll be able to do everything under one hood without any problems at all. So what we're looking at here is an aerial view, is a Google Maps, and it's showing a location. So this is a demo environment that we've set up recently, and there's also some offline labs. So quickly you can see color coding. It's green, it's all good. We're looking here at these dark ones, which are all offline currently. So we're already getting information immediately from logging into here. But if we had multiple sites, and we'll see on the other dashboard, we would see these pins globally. So if we had a site in Worcester or down here in Bracknell, we would see pins there as well, which then we could quickly see and understand what's going on within those networks and the connectivity. So we can see to create our demo network, we pinched some appliances from different labs that we've got, and we start to see that information there. But then we can drill in further, so we can go to network wide up here, and we can start to look at the clients. So if we drill into the clients here, we can understand who's connecting to that network. We can understand quickly how they're connected. So as part of this demo network, we've offered out a guest wireless within the office, so we can start to allow people to connect to that, and we can start to see who's connecting and what they're currently doing and when they're connected. We can get an overall view of what applications are being used, and we can get more information around what's happening there. So you can see that here that Apple.com is the largest used application, and we can see that this morning it's been if we look at the top there, we can see on the graph that it's contributing around about 9-ish that it's peaked. But we can drill into this, and we can start to see information around who's connected to that, what devices have been utilizing that application, and who's contributed to that. We can start to see and drill into individual users, and we can start to see what applications that they've been browsing to and what they've been using. So we're starting to get intelligence around what's happening on the infrastructure, who's doing what applications they're using, who's potentially breaching policy. And we can start to see further information around, if we had maps on here, we can start to see where they're located and everything like that. We can see which access point they're connected to at this time. We can start to see information around their network information here. We can see what policies are applied to those devices. So if we wanted to, if we felt they were breaching policy, we can block them, we can add them to a group policy, and start to apply restrictions to that device and that client in itself. If we wanted to, we can get further information around the traffic analytics, and we can look into here where we can get a higher level of detail around, again, the applications that are in use within there. We can get the same similar information that we got from the client, and we can start to get information around who's connecting to those devices, what's happening there, drilling, who's contributing to that bandwidth and that throughput, and understand what's going on. So we're starting to see information around the network and understanding what's going on. This is just from a security appliance. We can have a look at access points, we can have a look at switches. So one thing I want to highlight early on, and you'll notice here that we've got a security appliance, a switch, and wireless on this infrastructure. Meraki isn't limited to having to have the full stack to get this visibility. If you just wanted a security appliance to secure your infrastructure and offer those SD-WAN features, you will still get this level of visibility. If the traffic is passing through the appliance, you will get that context. You will get that visibility to understand what is happening in that infrastructure and understand who is doing what, where and when. So you're starting to understand the traffic usage in there. Like Simon said, so once you understand what traffic usage is, once you understand who is utilizing what bandwidth, what throughput, you can start to apply policy to those users, those devices. So if we look at group policy, we can start to configure policies that we can apply to users and groups. And we can do that in a number of ways. If you have the security appliance, we can do that through Active Directory, so we can integrate Active Directory and apply policy to those users. Without the Active Directory integration, we can apply it to device types. We can apply it directly to users. We can tag devices under the clients field. So under the clients field here, we can tag the devices, so we can tag them as HR, as engineering, as manufacturing, and then we can apply the group policies. And creating a group policy is simple. We can just create a group name. We can even schedule users when they connect to the network. So we can start to apply when users can actually use the network itself and when they can connect and get bandwidth and get throughput, or we can apply bandwidth controls to those devices. So if a particular user is breaching, we may want to give them a blanket, bandwidth limit on there. It's a bit disruptive, so we could possibly go down to doing it per device, per application. So we can set up custom rules per that user. We can do it on a firewall. We can block traffic for them if we want to at a high level, or we can add traffic shaping in here. So if we wanted to, we could add a simple rule in there to curb their gaming, so to speak, if we wanted to, and control that within that. Within this infrastructure itself, and we can limit that down, and we can limit that bandwidth down, so it makes it impossible for them to do if we didn't want to completely block it. But with the firewall as well, with the security appliance, the MX appliance, we have even more granular control over what we can do and what we can block against categories within that infrastructure. So we can go in more detail. Again, if they're breaching policy, we can apply them to one of these groups, and we can start to control. So if we wanted to completely block games, we can save that setting. We've created that group policy. We would just apply that to that user, and we would have that capability to block them. So we can start to configure, and we can start to control what's there. So it's giving us the visibility, but it's also giving us the tools to manipulate that data and control what bandwidth usage is going on in the infrastructure. But this is obviously per user. We can start to do this per network and per infrastructure on the security appliance. So we're getting that capability to have those controls over those users. But if we switch across to the security appliance itself, we can start to look at having the capability to have full threat protection on that device. So when I say full threat protection, what I'm talking about is the full weight of Cisco behind these devices. So we're looking at the advanced malware protection, the intrusion detection or prevention, depending on how you wish to have it configured. And this is in the intrusion prevention or / detection. It is powered by the Cisco Snort engine. So this is the same engine that's on the Cisco AXA. So they're well-known next generation firewall appliances. This is the same engine on there with the same feeds and the same intelligence coming on the back end. And Cisco Security has a huge intelligence on the back end of all of their solutions, which is called Talos. Now, Talos in itself isn't a product, it's part of every security solution that you buy from Cisco, and Talos has huge global intelligence around all of the traffic, all of the threats that are going on globally. It has information being fed into it from email security solutions, from web security solutions, from firewalls, from their partnerships with ISPs globally. They have honeypots, they have sandboxing. All of this intelligence is fed into Talos, where there's 250 to 300 dedicated security analysts, which on a day-to-day basis are identifying new threats, exploits within software, within hardware, dissecting malware, understanding all of these threats. And all of this intelligence is fed back into these devices, and that includes the MX appliance itself. So if you have this on, you've got the full weight of Cisco behind your solution. And there were a number of customers who were using the MX appliance at the time that the WannaCry attack happened earlier on in this year in May, and they were protected against that attack by the MX appliance because the intelligence was already there, the signatures were already there, based on the released information from Microsoft and the NSA that had already happened before that date. So they were protected against those threats. The advanced malware protection piece works in a way where it's more like your traditional malware protection in line, so it's going to identify, is it good, is it bad? Obviously good we allow through, bad we block, we control, and it's all based on a signature basis. But the great thing about advanced malware protection is also retrospective. So what happens if you have a user on the infrastructure who has happened to manage to download malware? It has no signature, it was 0 day, it's within the infrastructure, but retrospectively Cisco identifies that that malware is a threat. This will tell you, user A has downloaded malware at this time, it needs to be remediated. So you're closing that window to detection, because at the moment the industry average detection of a threat within the infrastructure once it's been downloaded is 100 days. Cisco's brought that down to within 10 hours of identifying that threat, notifying that user, notifying that admin that that user has that threat. So you can start to remediate very, very quickly. And if you're a customer who's impacted by GDPR, this is going to have a massive impact on how you react to those threats, and that's that infamous 72-hour window that you have to fulfill and understand all of that, and this is going to give you that intelligence. And configuring this is simple. We can turn it on, we can turn it off. We can have it in detection, so it's not going to block. We can have it prevention where it's going to block as well. The rule sets we can set up so we can have it connectivity, which is higher security risk but higher throughput. We can have it security, which is higher security but higher latency. And then we can have balance, which is generally the common configuration. The AMP is on or off. It's going to protect your users. It's going to protect them against those latest and greatest threats. And then we can gain a level of intelligence around this from the security center. What I'll do in a second is I'll hop into a different dashboard just to show you that intelligence, because this demo dashboard is relatively new and we don't have a great deal of information in there at the moment. So I will show that to you shortly. What I wanted to do quickly before I move on to the SD piece is just show you some of the other technologies as well, because obviously this is primarily around the security piece and the SD-WAN, but as Simon said, it is wireless, it is security, it is switching. So Meraki was born from the wireless piece, and they've added these functionalities, these products in there as well. But we can look at the wireless access points, and we can start to see information around what's happening on the infrastructure, and again we can start to put them on floor plans. This is our office, and we can start to see where the APs have been placed, and we can see how many clients are connected to those devices at this time. We can get information like location heat maps. And unfortunately, the guys who installed the APs in our office have done them in a linear fashion rather than in a triangle. So the triangulation isn't great at the moment. So we're going to move those around. But you can start to see, if you had the correct triangulation, you would start to see where users were within that infrastructure. So you can get that intelligence around what's being used, where are people moving to, And I suspect that if this is correctly triangulated, we would quickly see that the warmest area in the office is the coffee machine, as it generally is. So we can start to get that information around what's happening there. Even in the access point itself, we can do a level of firewalling. So we can stop traffic before it even gets onto the infrastructure. It's not as detailed as the security appliance by no means at all, but we can start to add some layer 7 filtering rules in there, and some shaping in there, around those devices, around those connecting to the network. So you can start to see that the wireless in itself is a powerful tool to be able to have that connectivity. If we look at the switching, a switch is a switch. It does its tool, it's passing its packets, it's passing them throughout the infrastructure. But with a Meraki, you have the visibility of all of your switches in one place. You can have multiple switches down here. We can drill in, and like Simon says, what you can start to do here is you can start to have the tools to manage those devices. You can see connectivity. You can see which ports are currently up and which ports are in use. You can start to see, get the tools in there to have the power to manage those appliances, to configure and see the capability of those devices around there. Sorry, just click into the newer version of the dashboard because it's a little cleaner than the old version, but they're still nice enough to give you the option to go back to the old one if you want to. But you can start to see information around the switch, you can start to see the connectivity, you can see IP information here, again, which ports are in use at the moment, which ports are using PoE. We can start to see, the devices, the clients, that are connected through that switch in itself. And we can start to see information around the port data on there, and we can see how much traffic is going through those ports in a live timing. We can see the power consumption of the switch itself, event log, and then we have the tools as well. Looks like Simon says we can start to do things around that switch. So if you have a stack of switches and you've got an engineer there who's looking for it, maybe to patch it in, you can simply blink those LEDs. You can test throughput. Anyone who's done any cable testing knows that it sounds like a simple task, but it's not always finding those cables, getting the fluke on there, doing that. You can do that directly from the dashboard. So if you're getting connectivity issues, you can do a cable test without having to send an engineer to that patch panel, to that switch to understand what's going on. You can cable test it directly from here, cycle ports. You can have a number of troubleshooting tools directly here in the dashboard itself. But also from a ports perspective, we can manage multiple ports, hundreds of ports simultaneously. So if we had huge amounts of ports right here, globally, all we would have to do is add a tag to these ports, and then we could search by them. So we could have, again, HR, engineering, manufacturing, sales team, we can have all of those tags, and we would search that, and then we can simply apply and edit those switches, those switch ports all in one go. So it's giving us huge amounts of capability and management over those devices. But like I said, you don't have to have all of these to have the Meraki network, the Meraki connectivity. If you want to look at this from just the SD-WAN and security perspective, then you can just do this from the security appliance. So what I want to quickly do is I'm just going to drag this off of here because I want to log into a different dashboard and show you what the management dashboard, what the security dashboard looks like when you've got some data in there. And you've got some information around what's happening within that infrastructure. Just one second, and here we go. So we're just logging into that now. So if I bring that up, down, I'll zoom in a little. Right, so if we bring that up. So I've got this is now my personal network. Unfortunately, I don't have any malware or anything in my network, but you can start to see some of the intelligence that you start to get on the infrastructure around what's happening, where you're connecting to. Obviously, if any of this was bad, it would be in red with bells and whistles and everything, so you would know those threats. You can see where you're connecting to globally. You can see the devices on the infrastructure, so you can start to see intelligence around what's happening and the potential threats that are happening on that infrastructure, so you can start to see all of the events that are taking place. So you can see that the security appliance is a firewall. It is a fully fledged. It is a piece of tin that you can trust with the power of Cisco behind it and their intelligence and their security organization behind that. So this is another dashboard that we're logging into. This is a demo one that's provided by Cisco themselves. And as you can see, as I mentioned, you can see multiple sites across the states here that we can look at, and we can see that they're up. We can get information around them. We can see that they've been up. They're all healthy. We can see the devices that are connected to it. It's a little bit cleaner than our demo dashboard. You can see which devices, which network they're connected to, so you can start to see information immediately around what's happening on that. So if we drill again into the security appliance, and what we need to start with for the SD-WAN is the site-to-site VPN. So if we just drill into this here, we can start to see the configuration and the basics around setting this up. So, if we were started from a clean slate, what we would have is this in an off state. And any of you who have configured a VPN between two appliances before, and God forbid, multiple appliances, it can be a headache. You're getting all of those configurations in there, manually setting it up, manually configuring it. It can be a bit of a nightmare. With the Meraki, they have simplified that with their VPN solution. We can simply choose whether we want a hub or spoke solution. We can choose the hubs that we want connected to there from the choice of hubs that we would have available from our sites. We can choose which networks we want to connect over there, which VLANs we want to pass traffic over. Quickly, simply, we can choose whether we want automatic or manual port forwarding on the NAT traversal. We can apply any firewall rules if we wanted to. And in the real world, because it's a demo environment, I don't have the access, we simply have a save button now. I would click save, and it would automatically configure that VPN. It would automatically bring it up. It would bring up those connections between dual sites, multiple sites, however many sites you've got. It would do all of the auto negotiation for you, bringing that connectivity up, bringing you online. If you want to add sites on there, simply just add into this configuration. Very quick, very straightforward. Once you get the new site, you tick all the boxes where you want it to connect to, boom, it's going to connect, it's going to auto-negotiate, you're going to have that site up and running straight away. Within minutes, you can have another site up and running with VPN connectivity across into all of your other sites. So removing that need to you know, especially around the MPLS piece, and removing that need to have that provisioning time and everything change, and all the policies, all of the routing, everything change. This is going to do it for you. It's going to bring that up quickly, and that configuration set up. And then all we need to do is move across to the traffic shaping. So we've got our VPNs. All of our VPNs between our sites are up and running. We've got our connectivity. So now what we need to do, and what we want to do, is get our intelligent traffic choices around which WAN links they're going to use. So we've got our functionality up here. We can change the WAN link throughput if we want to, if we want to throttle one down, if we want to have it up. You know, one of the other great things about the MX appliances is you can put cellular link in there as well. So with a 3 to 4G dongle, you can have a backup route if everything went completely pear-shaped and somebody cut through your pipes out in the street. You would have connectivity still through 4G connectivity. We can start to see information here around when we want to update intervals, so we can see our uplink statistics. But then we get down into the meat and bones of our path selection. So we can use our primary link is WAN 2. So we can have load balancing across our WANs, but if we don't want to, we can use our primary link is where all of our internet traffic is going to go to. All of our non-internet traffic is then going to choose WAN 1. So we've already got some level of prioritization against that traffic. But then we get to our VPN traffic. So we're starting to prioritize now, doing our intelligent selection between which application is going to do what, and where is it going to go, which path is it going to use. So we've already got a couple of test examples in here. So we can see here that we can prefer WAN to failover if poor performance to test. So what's test? So we're looking down here. So our performance classes are down here. So if at any point WAN 2 drops below, you know, a latency of 400 and a jitter of 150 milliseconds, we're going to switch over to WAN 1 for all of our traffic. And VoIP, using the MOS scores, is going to use whichever is the best for VoIP. But we can add in preferences into here as well. So if we have other applications, if we have other networks, we can choose, you know, we can add our IP addressing in there. But if we want to, we can do it based on applications, you know, so we can have video and music, we can choose that, we can choose all video and music, and then we can simply apply that to, sorry, my mouse is doing something funny. There we go. And then we can apply that to either WAN 1 or 2, so if we apply it for WAN 1, we can then choose failover if poor performance, and we can choose our performance class. And we can choose best effort, telepresence, or test again. So if we choose best effort, and then we can click save. Well, now we've got our new selection policy. But what if we want to add a new custom path? Class, easy. So we're starting to configure. We're getting more granular on how we want our applications to react to our WAN links. So as long as you've got dual WAN links, you can start to set all of this great stuff up, and you can have all of this configuration to pass this traffic in the manner and way that you wish across those WAN links, supporting your applications, giving you that capability. And again, we can go and add traffic shaping rules directly. So at the beginning I said we can do it per user, or we can do it per the whole network. We can go in here and we can add a per network traffic shaping rule. So if you just want to throttle network back per user, you can go in exactly the same way that we configure it on a group policy. So hopefully that's given you a sort of a good overview of what the Meraki network looks like, what it looks like to manage, and certainly what the security appliance can do on the capability of not only protecting you against the latest threats, giving you that visibility and understanding what's going on within your infrastructure, but also the capability to prioritize your applications to help support your functionality and your organization's capability to the best of your needs.
Hopefully you've had a good overview there of what the product can do. We'll pick up with you individually to see, obviously you may already be familiar with Meraki to some degree, you may have already deployed it or be interested in using it for other purposes than you're currently consuming it. So we'll try and pick up with you individually, but we think it's a great way of basically making your internet connections more intelligent and then bringing your network to life so that you get more management control, particularly for those of you who are operating with stretched resources across multiple sites. We think it's going to give you the perfect management tool. So thanks for your time today. Thanks to Dan for the demo, and I'll close up there and we'll look to pick up with you individually to answer any questions that you have. So thanks very much for your attendance and have a great day. Thank you.